Okay. Exciting for the CrossFit Canada podcast, a place for Canadian affiliate owners and coaches, except for when they're not, and special guests. And I feel like
I have relatives in Canada.
Yeah. Okay. Which part of Canada? Do I know them?
Toronto.
Okay. Close
Yeah.
enough. I mean, I'm an hour north of Toronto, but my guest today, I feel like you don't think a lot of people should know you. I feel like everyone should. And at the very least, if you've done the judges course, you've seen my guest today, Nicole, and her affiliate, CrossFit Roots. But so Nicole, introduce yourself, your affiliate. And I always like to do a question of the day. And I know from the social medias that you just finished quarterfinals, both at Roots and yourself. So your question is, once you've introduced yourself, what was your favorite of the 4 workouts?
Ooh.
And you can answer which one is easiest for you.
Well, my name's Nicole Christensen, and I own CrossFit Roots in Boulder. We are a 17-year affiliate. We opened in 2009, and so I opened the gym in 2009. We were in a 1-car garage before that. So that was kind of a fun starting point, I guess, my husband and I. And then in 2010, I passed what was then called the level 2, but is now more equivalent to the level 4. And then was asked to intern for seminar staff. So I started working for CrossFit in 2010, working the level 1s. That turned into level 2s, and then started working more behind the scenes on some of the education stuff. So I was with CrossFit Education, like on a employee full-time role for a while, and then kind of just, a lot of balls in the air there. So went back to full-time with my affiliate. I think I was always full-time, but just maybe more like in it. And really just where I wanted to spend my time. And then, but I still teach the level 1s and the level 2s. And so that's kind of where I am now.
Okay.
And then let's see, quarterfinals, favorite workout, man. I know I'm a CrossFit purist. I kind of loved them all. I think the one I felt like really good about was the bar muscle up hang squat clean one. I just felt like I paced really well for me and like knew what I needed to do. And I finished that one. And that was a big accomplishment for me. So
yeah. Very cool. Did you guys run? Because we were just talking offline before when I did a drop-in last year at your affiliate for 25.2, you guys run the open as classes.
We do.
And I was inspired by that, and I made that change in my affiliate.
Oh, cool.
It was incredible. We PR'd signups. We had 90 people sign up, so about just over 50% of the gym.
Perfect.
And on 26.2, we had 106 people check in that day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so over 60% check in for the day.
Yeah,
and a lot of people saying that they'll sign up next year because it's not as stressful as the event.
As they thought. Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's interesting. Like we went to the class format because we legitimately got to a point where I was like, if I don't know the workout and I'm doing a Friday night lights and we're starting at like 4 and the heat's 20 minutes. And then, oh my gosh, it was like, we can't run 200 people through this. So, but then I didn't realize when we did it, the trickle down effect of just, it lays the groundwork even for people the next year, because they're like, oh, that was the thing we did. Oh yeah. Like I could sign up for that. It takes the pressure, like you said, away from like, some people just aren't Friday night lights people, which is cool too. And I also think it just really hammers home the idea of this is just another workout.
Right.
It's just another thing that we do, and you're showing up, and yeah, you're going to count for each other, but pretty straightforward. So
I'm curious, like, and this isn't really what I had in mind, but like, let's just jump right into it.
Go for it.
Is when you do run them as a class, especially in the evening, do you think it might be like almost easier to just do a Friday? Like, you know, as you were saying, it's longer, but it's like, oh, we can just put heats on the whiteboard,
yes,
put your name. But that was the challenge was I was said to, like, you know, we did the 4:30 class and then 5:30. I'm like, you good?
Oh yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay, yeah. I was like, okay, 4:30. Go over there because we have a second gym space. Go over there.
Yes.
You can come back in 15 minutes once I do whiteboard. And so it takes a lot more like task management, but the people appreciate that.
So I think for next year, I always do like a little like notes of, okay, what do we want to think about for next year? And one of the things I wrote down was our commissioner said it. He was like, oh, we should do Friday Night Lights again. And I think next year I could see running it in class all day. But then, like you said, making it heat based so that from, 4 to whatever, 7 p.m., 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Fridays, we don't have a 6 p.m., but it's just based off of heats. And then maybe you say something like you have to stay and judge the next heat or something like that. Cause then you're not organizing judges and everything, but because then you'd still only be there for an hour, right? Like between warm up and doing it and then judging the next heat. And you could be super quick on the timeline too, right? Like that like 3-minute turnaround to be like, okay, heat 1, you're done. Drag yourself off the ground. I know you're breathing hard. You got to judge the next person and count effectively. Like you could avoid some of that. But yeah, I want to bring back Friday Night Lights next year for at least like maybe the finale or the last week. But yeah, like there's just, I don't know. It's like always, I don't know if you do this, but like I put so much stress on like, or not stress, but I want everyone to have a good time.
Sure.
And I want it to run well and I want them to have a good experience. And then you've got people that like their definition of a good experience, like is the workout. And then other people's, it's like, they feel like the coach really cared for them in the warm up and they're confident that they can do this. And like other people, it's like having a good judge. And so everyone obviously has different definitions of good experience, but I do like, when it's like a 20-minute workout and then you've got a 2-minute turnaround. Okay. Now 42 minutes were taken just working out. And you're like, now you want me to warm people up, partner them up for judging, get clipboards, know the standards in 18 minutes. And I'm like, is that a good experience? But most people, one thing we did this year, which I can't believe we haven't done this more effectively in the past, but we put something up that was like in Sugarwad in the announcements. And we kind of told people, it was like, hey, during the open, you need to show up 20 minutes before class and be generally warmed up. Now, not everybody did that, but the people that care more, right? They would make that, even if it's just sitting on the bike for 15 minutes and whatever, you're just a little bit more generally warmed up because most of the warm up is like the movements.
Yeah, getting into it right there, right? And it's like we can't punt it away to the member to be like, you're responsible for showing up. Like it is this kind of middle ground of like, know that it'll be a little bit different, but know that we will guide you. Yeah. And I will say like on 26.2, because so we follow CAP. And
cool, awesome.
Using the resources available from CAP, but
you see all my bad demo examples?
I didn't watch the videos in that, but I did read the notes. And I will say the one was like, run them through a 5-minute low ring muscle up progression. I'm like, I don't think I can do a 5-minute low ring muscle up.
Nobody can. Right.
So I ex-nayed that part.
Right.
But we were able to do it. And, my partner, who's a coach and a member at the gym as well, she's like, Friday Night Lights. I'm like, we did Friday night. It just wasn't after 8 p.m.
And with heats. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. I know. Well,
but back to the kind of question, what led to this was, did you guys run quarterfinals as just your class workouts for those weeks as well?
We did. Yeah. So we ran them Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we were very clear with our quarterfinal. We had like 42 people that qualified for quarterfinals. So we were very clear in the email that went out to them that if you were doing it for quarterfinals, you had to do it in the evening classes that day because it had to be done after 1:00 here. Yeah. But the reason I did that was because it felt better to front load them. And then if somebody missed one or wanted to make one up on Monday, they had that like free day. And so we programmed them in the classes. We sent that out to the quarterfinal athletes so they could plan. And then we had the gym open on Saturday and Sunday for a 3-hour block in the like early, like late morning to mid afternoon. So that either you could come in and get in a second workout. If you're like, I can't do it Sunday, I can't make the Sunday one, you could come and make that one up, or do it then. And then, but we didn't, it's interesting. Well, I mean, I guess the people that were really thrilled were the quarterfinals athletes. I think it actually did two things, kind of the same thing we were talking about with the open. So for people that were close to quarterfinals, but didn't make it, or people that like maybe have higher skills, they have some higher skills, but they don't have the, metabolic conditioning for the first stage of the open. They were like, oh, like I could do this workout. And I think it was cool that everybody did them, because it's just like another layer of exposing people to like, this is something you could aim for next year. And all the quarterfinal athletes, a number of them, I told this at my staff meeting, I told all the coaches, like a number of athletes were like really appreciative that we did run it in class, because a lot of them, it's not their full-time focus, but they're really proud of the accomplishment, and they should be. And I really promote that. It's not that I hate it, but like, I don't like when people write off their, like, oh, I made quarterfinals. Yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just, I mean, in my age group. And I'm like,
sure.
What,
it's like, yeah, but I scaled.
Time out.
Yeah.
Like time out for a second, like be proud of this amongst the gym. And so I thought it was cool too, that it really kind of highlights them in group class. And it is an accomplishment. And you want to celebrate people in all different ways at the gym, because obviously everybody's coming there for a variety of different goals, and there's the experience thing. But I definitely don't shy away from, you're a competitive athlete and you did something like competitively awesome. So we ran them in class and it was good.
You touched on something though, like I had my lowest finish. I was 68th percentile, I believe, when I finished.
Okay.
So just on the outside, but the quarterfinals did favor me a little bit more. So I had this like little bit of an ego boost to be like, well, I can do these. Even the bar muscle up dumbbell, a coach and I did partner, and we did 5 rounds. I go, you go. And it was fun, but I'm like, some of the guys, like the old dog, if I had a qualified, look out.
Right.
So I thought they were very like accessible and fun, and just the open was in general. And, we could sit on the soapbox, but I think sometimes affiliate owners get stuck in maybe that like familiarity with the open and quarterfinals, be like, oh, well, if it's not competitive focused, I don't need to push it, or I don't need to push signups. People are still going to do it, but we don't need to sign up. I mean, heck, you guys had almost 300 signups, and
no, we only had we had 220.
That's still 221. That's still pretty good. That's still good.
Yeah, that's good.
But so clearly, like at Roots, like it's a huge pillar of your year, but it doesn't have to be about the competition, and even still including quarterfinals for everyone.
Absolutely. And I think that just whether your goal is that you came into the gym because you want to be healthy, or because, you were a collegiate athlete and you want to, you love the competition side, or, whatever your reason is, getting your first pull up will get you all of those goals. Getting your first muscle up will get at all of those goals. And so I think sometimes it becomes like, well, we only try because we're in the competitive category of why we're at this gym. Right. And we lose sight of when we're trying to increase our work capacity across broad time and modal domain. So we move ourselves over onto the fitness side of the continuum. That serves everybody. And the way you do that is your deadlift goes up, that you eat cleaner, that you get one pull up and then one pull up. And, I had this awesome conversation with one of my athletes, and I, during the open, I think it must have been the I don't remember. It must've been the workout with the muscle ups, but one of the scaled options was pull-ups.
Yeah.
And chest to bar pull-ups. And she'd never done them without bands, and I was like, all right, well, you're going to go this full option, like the scaled option. And when you get there, you're just going to do one at a time. And she's like, oh, okay, you think I can? And I'm like, yeah, do it. And so, yeah, what did she do for 5 minutes? She, kind of struggled through one at a time. And, what the vibe where it's like, they get one, they're like, oh my God. And then they have a couple where like the technique gets funky, but they stay with it and they struggle through it. And then they get another one. Well, that athlete, like literally 2 days ago, was like, I did pull-ups in the workout without bands. And I'm like, that is why we do this.
Well, it's like the stimulus, sorry to cut you off, but like leading up to it, I was like, we can't be stimulus zealots and get stuck with those bands, because now what the open provides is like, hey, as long as everyone's safe,
right,
let's like get that first one. You're like, now you know what it feels like. I need you to keep having it feel like that.
Yes. And that's where that's the difference between training and the test. Sure. Right. And I think we lose sight of that. We try to test too much on a day-to-day basis and we don't get in enough training. And then versus no, like we want to train we want to train every day.
Right.
We want to find, yes, we're going to train with intensity. We're going to find relative intensity every single day. We're not going to mail it in. We're going to warm up. We're going to see how we feel. We're going to push our limits, within all the parameters of scaling and the stimulus and whatnot. And that's going to move us forward. And that's the difference between, doing a snatch EMOM and at rep, on 20-minute, 16 minutes of the 20, you start to go a little forward, but you're kind of greedy and you're like, well, I just want to get 10 more pounds on it and just be able to put up that I did it, versus saying like, nah, you know what, I'm going to get 4 more for the last 4 minutes and just stay here. That's training, right? Yeah. But then that repetition and that positioning, that's what like sets you up for success. So then when the test comes, it's like your body knows how to go to that position. Your body's like groomed it. It's like done it over and over and over again. And so then when it's like, yeah, you've got 2 minutes left, you're sweating out your ears, but you've got all these people around you. So you get the adrenaline boost, and you take it for a ride. That's when like, okay, yeah, let's test this. And so, yeah, we put that out and we did that in quarterfinals too. I don't know if you guys did that, but like, we don't do time caps ever.
No. Yeah.
In class. Yeah. And so, but with the open, so we keep it in that hour class, right? Yeah. We do. But that's when we test. And we'll say like, hey, you know what? Great example is that bar muscle up and squat clean one. Hey guys, you know what? Okay. If you can hang squat clean the 50-pound dumbbells and you've got some bar muscle ups and you're like, you know what? I just want to rip this and see what happens and see how far I can get, great. And we had, and that's where I think you have to like open that door for people to say like, no, this is test day. And give them the push to say like, yeah, I know that normally we're like, okay, if it's got sets of X muscle ups, like, let's make sure we can get 3 in a row here, all that stuff. It's like, no, like, let's let it fly.
Yeah.
And those are really valuable days. And I think that a lot of times that line gets too blurred on a day-to-day basis of like combining training and testing. But the quarterfinals is definitely a good day to be like, let's go test it.
Yeah. Or let's see, like bridge the gap between here and there, or see where we could get to after
Absolutely.
that. We had, and I mean, to keep it just competitive focus, you're missing out on the value that like the new people can pull from it. I have a member who, I think she's in her like 3rd month, but she recruited a friend of hers who signed up for the open in her 2nd month of CrossFit. And so she came in the evening classes when things were a little crazier. And then on the last workout, she came to a morning class. It was a lot quieter. Anyway, I was able to like, so how's the experience been? This and that. She's like, I'm disappointed with myself because I could have pushed myself harder last week. And you're like, hell yeah.
Okay.
And like,
well, and we write people off about that too. Like we assume way too early that just because a person presents as not being able to, like, what do we say? Beginners look like beginners, but that there's not like a deep desire and love for competition. Like the number of times that I have somebody who comes in, and then 3 months later, they're like, oh man, like, I just love this so much. And like, I used to bike race, or like, oh man, I just love this so much. Like, I played college football, and like, those things come up initially when you're talking, but they don't stick with you like for every athlete through the whole time. And
Yeah.
And when I think that's something to like lean into, rather than, I think like what a lot of times we get like hesitant about, like, we don't want to make it too competitive because we don't want to like shy people away. It's like, no, like if you can bring out the healthy competitive spirit in your gym, it's like an amazing, like wonderful thing that just helps people be better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I love the open and quarterfinals. But it's not just like, no, it's not just like, oh, we're not going to go to the game, so why do we do it?
Yeah,
like,
or
no,
like
you're missing the point.
A lot of my athletes are dealing with injuries, so they didn't sign up,
right.
So we didn't push it. Like, no, we pushed.
Oh, I was like super. I mean, this past year has been, for me, like I've never really, knock on wood, had to deal with an injury. And I would say the past 9 or 10 months, it's just been like going to class and just, talking to the coach and being like, I need to modify. Can like, you tell me what to do? Like, and I had a moment where I was like, I never questioned not signing up for the open. Like even when I was pregnant, I signed up for the open and I did like 1 toes to bar, and then I got my RX score, and then I went on and did the scaled version or whatever. But I don't know. There was something in that too of like, oh, we'll see what I can do. If I end up workout comes out that I can't do and I have to scale it, I have to scale it. But you also never know what's going to happen. And I don't know. I get it. Like you broke your arm, or you've, got something going on and you can't do the open. You're like, I'm not going to sign up this year. And I think if you can flip the script a little bit and be like, I put in work of some capacity. I don't know. I think it's a good.
Well,
I think
of intensity is like you're saying, like the competition side, but really it like brings out intensity, and then we just have to find, especially new people's relative intensity. And so if we zoom all the way back out to like when you first opened your affiliate in like 2009, 2010, even Greg is on video saying like, you want to know what CrossFit is? Like come to class at 9:30, and when you're on the floor when you're on the floor at 10:30, like, hey buddy, that's what constantly varied functional movement is.
Totally.
But it's like, so those early adopters got the bucket of intensity dumped on them.
Right.
And we've, over the past 15, 20 years, have gotten a lot more elegant in like onboarding new members and things like that. But how have you found that like middle ground then of like, well, we still want to make sure that journey of a new person's important, but sometimes they need to put too much hot sauce on to figure out what they can tolerate?
Yeah, it's actually funny you said that. I think about this a lot. Like, I think that even just the persona, the demographic, if you will, of who was coming into the gym, 20 years ago to start CrossFit, like those were the early adopters. Those were the, they were the ones with their 2 middle fingers up, like, F the world. Like I go against the grain. Like there was definitely like a more of a seeking out of CrossFit because it was so different and kind of just ready to handle whatever that was. And I don't mean that in a negative way.
Sure.
To like where it is now. It was just, that's just what it was. And then as CrossFit grew more into like a public, sort of name brand, if you will,
it just professionalized over time too, right?
Right. Yeah. Then it was this line where then I remember being like, there was, we had a foundations course and it used to run 12 sessions for a month. And we would dose people. I remember we wanted them to wake up the next morning and be sore. Now there was an interesting thing. How sore? Not so sore that you couldn't walk, but like those workouts were like very perfectly planned out. And now I think it's interesting. I almost feel like we're coming a little full circle or half circle. So we went through that phase where it was like, okay, everybody's like raw, like just like give it to me. And then it was like, okay, we're going to give them intensity, but it's got a longer runway. We're going to bring people on. And then we kind of went through this phase where I think it got too mainstream almost. And you just had people that were like, oh, I do, yoga for a week, and then I'm going to go do CrossFit for a week, and then I'm going to go do this for a week. And, it's kind of, what was that? Groupon. It was like the Groupon phase,
class passes
where you're like, we never did class pass, but same idea where you're just like, okay, we got to make sure these people aren't going to mess themselves up.
Right.
But now I think because CrossFit concepts have been, incorporated into other fitness programs, let's just be clear on that.
Sure.
But I do think we get more people that have come and they've, how many times it's like, have you done CrossFit? Where it's like, no, but I've done things like CrossFit. And you're like, no, okay, try it. Yeah. Right. Sure. But there is a little bit more awareness to things like, okay, I've seen a deadlift before. Maybe I haven't done a deadlift, but I've done a kettlebell deadlift, and they don't know what's called a deadlift. But those movement patterns are creeping into things like Orange Theory or a HIIT fitness class, or even like a personal trainer that's, branching out from machines and things like that. So, so now I think there is a little bit more ability to bring in some true intensity back to give them that appropriate dosing in foundations. But then, once they go to a group class, I think that's just the art of a really good coach is just being able to bring somebody on and let them marinate for 3 months and kind of, get the movements and get the exposure and really you're celebrating that you saw them 3 times that week. It's the consistency thing. It's when they're leaving being like, okay, nice job. I see you tomorrow. Right. Really kind of just obviously you're coming tomorrow. Right. And then being able to find those moments where it's like, hey, you know what? Didn't last time you do pull-ups with the blue band? All right, cool. Let's try warm up today. Let's just not use a band. And then in class, for the workout, let's see if we can get to red,
Yeah.
And I think it's just that's the incremental push. And I think that's probably that's true for any coaching, right? Is you have to be really careful that you don't onboard the newbies and then everybody just kind of gets to wallow in passive increases in their fitness rather than guided awareness from the coach of oh, I know they snatch 75. Why can't they snatch 80? Okay. They've done Fran. How many times in your logbook have you done Fran with 55 pounds? Dude, your time was 4.5 minutes. I think we could probably put 65 pounds on the bar and we're not going to punt the timeline here, and so that management of intensity, I do think takes a very broad, thoughtful, taking a step back approach, looking at your class lists and being who am I going to pick on today? I don't mean pick on in a bad way, but I mean pick on in a way of how am I going to seek this person out to try to make them a little bit better than what they would do just under the normal coaching guides for the day?
Well, it's because it is at the end of the day, we're business owners. You and I both own affiliates. The 5 people listening to this might own affiliates or coach at it, but I think of an onboarding or foundations program is when someone graduates from that, is there this perception that okay, they're ready to just know what their CrossFit journey is, as opposed to, well, no, we still have to day to day give them something. And there's a video of you on the CrossFit Training YouTube where you're talking about seeing specifically. And someone asked, a long time ago, someone asked okay, I kind of stare off into the broad space and you're it's not that that's not wrong. It's just you're going to miss things, especially from your well movers.
Yes.
And then the back half of this video is more important to me, is when you say someone once came up to you and it's after 5 years, we don't really get coached anymore. Right. And then so if whether it's someone in their first week or their 11th year, we still have to be present to give them, to make sure they're getting intensity of equal value
And I think that was probably one of the more motivating things that was ever said to me, because I think there's also there can be a perception amongst coaches that, especially younger coaches, where it's and almost in a CrossFit setting, like once you've been doing this for 2 years,
Yeah,
you
you know
kind
what
of
you're
made
doing.
it.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. And so for the coach to go in and tell you things, I think the coach is like, I don't want to, like they kind of seem to know what they're doing, right? And that's literally like the exact opposite of the goal of coaching, right? What you want is that you build this long-term relationship that even when someone's been coming for 10 years, they are still seeking out or open to improvement. Just today, we hosted the guys at Misfit for the camp. Like they came and taught a camp, and they taught the muscle up. And I've always had good muscle ups, but I don't, because I think I'm strong at the transition, but I've never been like great at them. And so it's always been this like, right. And they taught this breakout, and I got what they were saying, but I physically, and I could see my body doing it, but I couldn't figure out how. I didn't have the right cue in my head. I would video it and all that stuff. And one of our coaches, James, was like, helped me with how like the timing of my backswing was just off in terms of like when I lifted my heels. And that was a huge help. And then with one of my other coaches, we were videoing ourselves today doing it. And I was like, the light bulb went off. And I guess my point there is like, after 15 years, after 20 years of doing muscle ups, like I would, like, there's a huge chance that like that error wasn't always there.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the point I'm trying to make is that like,
so it's not an error. It's almost like a bad habit that developed over time.
Crept in. Yeah. Because I can look at old muscle ups and be like, did I always do that?
Yeah.
And so then the creep goes away. And so then part of good coaching too is like, it's not just fixing problems before they ever occur or helping this athlete have this perfect ascension to like, and that's coaching, right? Like there's going to be natural ebb and flow where like a skill is going to click and it's going to be like really good. And that's why it's so important, I think, for like athlete notes to like remember those things that like really make the difference. But from a coaching standpoint, the second that we think like, oh, someone's been coming for 5 years and like they don't really want our help, is like we're sort of it's like, it becomes like the graveyards of athletes, right? We're just like, well, these are all the people that don't get coached anymore. But on a daily basis, if you're making 120 corrections, I don't think of it as corrections. I think of it as 120 moments where you prevented their technique that was going like this and getting better and better. You just prevented it from slowly over time doing this and this and this and this and this and this, and they make no progress. So I
have a new coach, very, very gentle guy. And I feel like he's hesitant to make corrections with people because it's almost like he views it as being critical of them.
Right.
And I was like, hey, we just need to be hyper vigilant to find every opportunity to help them be better.
Totally.
And like,
and then it's like, there's, totally. And then there's the authenticity behind it becomes so important too, because I think sometimes we get into this formulaic or like academic approach where it's like coaches should make cues. Coaches should make corrections. And it's like, yes, but we also know that there's like a delivery element to how you cue and how you correct. And I think that becomes where it really can come together for a coach, because in a lot of those moments, it's not that the cue or the correction it's correct. It's like, how do you deliver it? When do you deliver it? Like, and that just, there's a whole element in there.
Well, because it like, I think of then the culture, and one thing that I know like you're big on, and almost, I don't know if it started with you, but like the standard is the standard is like the saying, right? And I know it's come from Roots or whatnot, and you laugh, but I wonder if you laugh for the same reason. I think that like so many people now like, reshare on Instagram, the standard is the standard. And I think about it like, again, back to Greg, I've watched his Reebok CrossFit One video like 1,000 times, and he talks about functional, and like when he first started saying functional, like everyone was like, functional, the Swiss ball people are like functional finally, and the band people are like finally functional, and it's like, wait, we're not all talking about the same functional. I feel like that's what the standard is. The standard now has almost become, people are like, the people should be moving to the standard, but I'm thinking it's for you guys at Roots, it's a way deeper, like cultural foundations.
Yes.
So
well, I think, so I said that on the Best Hour podcast. I think it got turned into a t-shirt. I'm not really
Ackerman
sure,
made t-shirt sales on it.
Yeah. And when I said that, I don't think I'd ever said that in my life, just so we're clear. Like, I think I was trying to make a point.
Yeah.
But I've actually thought about this a lot in the sense that there's like a needed second sentence. So the standard is the standard.
Yeah.
And we have to do everything we can as coaches to teach and enable the standard for every athlete. And so there's a big difference between saying the standard is we squat below parallel, and that's what we do, right?
Yeah.
Versus meeting the athlete where they're at, not saying in some cheesy, like, oh, you're a delicate flower, right? But meeting the athlete where they're at to say, this is where we're at today. We're going to start and we're going to squat to a 12-inch box.
Yeah.
And we're going to be really consistent there. And I know you can do this. We're just not there today. It's also, I think a lot of the standard goes back on the coach, because it's really easy to turn a blind eye on the standard because the answer is not, we'll just squat deeper a lot of times.
Yeah.
That's like the last ditch approach. Like, you missed warming up the hips, you missed holding positions in static positions, you missed knees driving out, you missed that they send their hips way too far back, so the barbell has to travel forward, and now they're tipping forward. Like, if you're to the point where it's just like squat lower, it's like all those things should be like perfect and addressed, right? And so it's really, when I think about the standard is that it's the standard being present in a gym is a reflection of all the teaching and the underlying, this is how we get to what we expect. And we know you can get there. And that's just the picture of it, right? One of my athletes made me so proud the other day, Robin. She was in class and we were filming, we were taking photos of movement errors for CAP.
Okay.
I'm like demoing like burpee not touching the ground, both feet on the ground on the burpee, chin not over the bar on a jumping pull up. I mean, you name it. We were filming like every error you could do in like all these movements. And she was like, are you just filming what not to do? And I was like, I'm so proud right now.
Oh, because she didn't know what you guys were doing. And
you know what you're doing. But her assessment of just looking around was like, well, her burpee chest isn't touching the ground. Like, the chin's not over the bar. Like, so the fact that her reaction to just seeing that was that, oh, is this what, are they just showing everything you're not supposed to do? Means that she knows and can see what you are supposed to do in all of those movements collectively. And that was her assessment. I was like, I'm so proud right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the standard is like the sound bite, but it doesn't capture like maybe what I was fully going for, I guess.
Well,
it's not something you can just throw out. Like, you're not scramble the player. The standard is the standard. You're not putting your chest on the ground with push-ups. The standard is the standard. Like, no, like, that's a teaching issue.
And I think that, like, you know, because a misguided coach could sit at their whiteboard and be like, okay, guys, like, on these squats today, the standard is hip below the knee. So I want you to hold yourself accountable. And then they're debriefing.
That was really good. That's I know what you mean. And I'm always like, that's like me being like with my kids, like, the standards that you put your seatbelt on. So I want to see that your seatbelt's on.
But then they sit at the end of class and they're like, just, I was constantly having to remind people to squat lower. Like, why didn't they do that? And it's like, but it's back to teaching. You know, I worked with Joe Maisley for a year. And when we first got started, he's like, you didn't teach range of motion. You didn't teach it. You walked by it there, you walked by it there, you walked by it there. And it was because you didn't teach it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he, you know, and the value of working with the mentors, once he got me to teach it, it's like, oh my God, it's actually way easier. And I actually don't have to say things like the standard is the standard anymore.
Well, so think about that too. Like, again, with all these coach moments where maybe we assume coaches assume too quickly that because I taught you this at Foundations, we should be done. But then you and I just talked briefly about how over a 20-year period, there is ample opportunity for a well-learned muscle up to go awry. And if you don't keep the guardrails up and fix those little things for 20 years, it can get worse and worse and worse. That's what happens with movement. And then we, don't assume that that's not happening on like major sports fields. Like the basics are just getting reinforced over and over and over again, because it keeps you always within the realm of where you're trying to move and be successful. And so for something like the, teaching that component, I think a lot of coaches are like, well, I'm not going to start class by being like, okay, guys, so when we squat, we want to make sure our hips go down below. But yes, we need to say that for your average athlete, if they come 3 days a week, 4 days a week, they probably squat in class twice a week, or go below parallel, like between warm up and whatever, all the different movements that might come up. Sure. They also have like jobs and lives, and their calling in life isn't to be able to know like the depth is below parallel. But if we say it enough times, it becomes something that, that we could get. And then you obviously correct it and you refine it and you set parameters so that they can be successful and do it over and over and over and well. But just because we've said it once doesn't mean that if we say it again, we're getting eye rolls,
Yeah. They want to be reminded, and also like if they're moving to a point where they're hitting it perfectly every time, well, maybe they're missing the threshold challenge of go a little faster, right?
Absolutely.
And these
tempo and speed.
Yeah, right. Like speed it up. Let's add weight. Like let's introduce stress. Oh, let's slow it back down. But the reason why I wanted to like bring these things up, because it's like I feel like these are the things that are missing from some affiliates that might claim that like the CrossFit business isn't doing something for them, or they need more, or things like that. And like, so for you guys, the standard is a cultural thing that is put across teaching, seeing, correcting, presence, and attitude.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just to say it like, the result is a busy affiliate from sun up to sundown that people want to come to, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's not some magical formula that Roots has. It's just, no, you build a culture of a coaching gym, you give people opportunity, and guess what? The things kind of start to solve themselves in a way. From doing,
I would agree with that. CrossFit. Yeah, and I was just laughing because I don't think I've ever once in my life at my gym said the standard is the standard. Just so we're clear, like that's not, I don't know. I know I've never said that like in my classes or as a phrase that like we go back to. Yeah. But I mean, I do think that this is my experience, right? Not everyone has the same experience, but our goal was to always coach athletes at a very high level. And when I say very high level, that doesn't mean every athlete is advanced. Right. But it means the quality of what they experienced and how they are molded to move over time. And I find that speaks for itself, right? It brings people to the gym. It keeps people in the gym. Everyone loves the phrase like, oh, you just have to care. I don't think that's true at all. I think it's a lot more than that, but that is the foundation for care in terms of our like what we're trying to achieve. Right. And like what we coach and what we do. If you can't get somebody and mold them to move better and to get pull-ups or to lose weight or to improve their blood pressure numbers or whatever it is, like that's literally the definition of what we're trying to do for our job. Right. Yeah. So we do have job analysis in that sense of whether we're being successful. But I've always found that just, if you focus on the coaching, that the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Well, and you're delivering, I don't know, I can't represent for you guys, but I'm guessing like it's a consistent product Monday to Friday, sun up to sundown. And you know, you guys are, I creep your guys' team, very fortunate to have a lot of level 4s on your team, but you know, the people who are still in development are still trying to be at that level. And I read this in the Michael Gerber book of the E-Myth when he talks about like consistency. And it's like,
a long time ago.
I think inconsistency across classes and across the week is sometimes what plagues an affiliate, like as opposed to it's like, hey, let's just try to run a consistent class every day, and it kind of solves itself.
Right. And that was something that long ago, you know, we went to whoever, one of the 2 5:30 a.m. coaches writes the lesson plan each day.
Which is, I do want to talk about, you guys technically run 2 classes at 5:30 a.m., which is, we'll get to that in a
second. Sometimes 3. So yeah. And so my thought was, is that I didn't ever want a couple to go home and, you know, they get home from their class, one went at 5:30 in the morning, one went at 5 p.m. after, you know, after work, and then be having dinner, and one be like, oh yeah, we did that really cool muscle up, scaling progression today. And the other one was like, what? Like, yeah, the thing on the rings with the bands. And then the other person's like, oh, we just did pull-ups and dips. We didn't have a progression thing. I never wanted that. And that was, honestly, that was like one of the driving forces, was just that it is a consistent training experience for everybody, because I also think that's how you're going to be able to gauge results. And I learned so much. I learned so much every day when I look at the whiteboard, knowing that everybody was a la carte offered like the same scaling options, and looking at the time domains. I can look at how everybody's performing. I can get like data on like where our time domain is compared to where I thought we would be, like where the stimulus lies. I can look at, you know, if there's a newer coach and all of their times are kind of at the top end of the range of the stimulus, I can sit there and be like, okay, hey, let's talk at like what these scaling options look like. And, you know, how can we dial it into like getting into that 6 to 10 minute window rather than everybody being like 9 to 11. And like, what do you think the culprits were there? Like, there's so much that comes out of a consistent class. And, you know, sometimes like, well, it doesn't allow for individuality. And I think, you know, for us, that's what our weekends are for. We don't do class plans on the weekends because only one coach is coaching. And I even challenge them. I'm like, teach 7:30 one way, and then at 8:30, teach it a different way. Yeah. Like if you're following the lesson plan, like Monday through Friday, and you're writing one of those lesson plans, like you should be able to riff. You should be able to show up, you know, have general idea of when you need to start the workout and just like teach to the class. And like, so there's like value in that too, right? Of like those moments on the weekends, but there's enough individuality, and then there's enough like ability to teach to the 7 to, you know, or sorry, I know I said 7, 12 people in front of you, right? At the moment. But yeah, I like the consistency. Consistency is good.
And at least, you know, not to overuse that term now, but at least being consistent and to strive to a certain standard of experience at the very least. And the beauty of like the affiliate model is I actually sometimes give my coaches more freedom to change things. And I'm like, I just want you, I always tell them, I'm like, I just want you to take ownership of your hour. And at least if you own it, then
I like that phrase a lot.
The authenticity will come out, and people will be like, you know, and there's folks in the internet like, I know what we did was different than the 6 a.m. group, but we had fun and this was great.
Right.
And they all go for a walk after. I'm like, you know what? Why become a zealot of the stuff
there's balance.
Yeah.
But, and that's where, you know, you, like you said, like you provide instances of individuality.
Right.
Or ownership, but when you zoom out, you're still looking at a consistent approach to the class or the lesson or the whatever.
Put a lesson plan together, see if it works, try to be better, and, you know, rinse and repeat. And so like, again, you guys run the culture at Roots is like to offer a very professional product. but also not letting that be an anchor that holds you guys down. And so like, right. And so again, back to touching upon that part in the morning is, you guys run 2, sometimes 3 classes all at once, because I'm guessing that's when people are wanting to come in the most, but realizing sometimes I think it's a bit of a, I guess not a failure, but a room for growth to say, well, we cap our classes at 10 people because we want to keep the coaching standard high. It's like, if that's where your current threshold is, but to not challenge that or press that, you're missing out on an opportunity. So how do you guys manage that balance of maintaining coaching, but still realizing we can deliver it to more people?
Got it. So like, why the 12 person, right? So,
well, or just, I don't know, is that what you guys do? Is like, is 12 person the cutoff where you trigger another coach?
Yeah. So like,
how do you structure it, I guess, is a bigger,
yeah. So we, I don't know. I settled on a 12 person class. I mean, I don't know, 15 years ago, because I felt like I read a bunch of stuff, and anything past 12 groups start to splinter, where they become like cliques and things like that. And I felt that 12 people for like a reasonably seasoned coach, even a new coach, could handle that, all the different moving parts with the lesson plan and all that stuff. And I honestly think I owe a lot of why I think our gym moves the way it does, the reason that we were able to get so much done in an hour, is because of that. And so when the gym got bigger, rather than going to like one class of 24 with 2 coaches, we did 2 of 12. And we just, we've had the luxury of having a big enough gym that we could have a front rig and a back rig. We did have to go to a smaller space for about 23 months.
Which was still a decent size. I dropped into that space once too. It was tiny. A decent size space.
Yeah. And we definitely like kept the 2 rigs, and that was kind of a stretch, but it really did allow us to keep the 12 person, and we just had to cram the barbells together, but it worked. So that's why we do the 12 person. And then, lately we have had just like a really busy 5:30. And so we've had as much as 3 classes of 12. Yeah. And Jenny Orr, I get credit her for this one. We couldn't think of a great name for the 3rd class, because the 3rd class, the idea was like, you just got to make it work. Like there's the riffing, right? So like if the workout was like thrusters and running, but like we can't putting 36 barbells on the floor is doable, but not with all those moving parts and trying to keep 2 people or 2 separate rig spaces. We don't have a 3rd. So like that workout might become like rope climbs for the pull-ups, dumbbell thrusters, and like echo bike. Right. And so like the coach will change the workout. So is it the exact stimulus? No, but we're preserving a lot of the intended stimulus. We're preserving the movement patterns, and the time domain and all that stuff. But then it allows us to have a 3rd class, and we really hammer home the concept of like, look, like at some point, whether you're doing rope climbs, dumbbell thrusters, and echo bike, or running barbell thrusters and pull-ups, like you got fitter that day, and so there's some variance there. And so Jenny named it the Outlaw class. So that one's like super fun. It's on the schedule. It says Outlaw. And people know that if both of the classes are full and they sign up for Outlaw, we're going to try and preserve as much of it as we can. Sometimes it's the exact same workout when it works, but sometimes there's a one-off. But they're so educated, and they believe in the concepts of CrossFit, and they get it, that they're like, I just want to get my workout, man, So that's how we do that. And then on the weekends, we do 24 people.
Okay.
Mostly because, there's a vibe there, right? 24 people, the weekend, chill, like, everyone's a little bit more laid back. More people want to like hang out together. So we do 3 classes on Saturdays of about 24 people.
Yeah. So give that dynamic a room to breathe and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But like, and I think sometimes like the goal is not to do CrossFit. Like the goal is to use CrossFit to improve people's fitness. And when you can like help your well, first we as owners and coaches have to understand that. And then when we start communicating that and that becomes your culture, the members, because someone listening to this might be like, oh, there's no way someone's going to want to go and do a different workout. But like, if it makes your culture, they're like, yeah, I'm just happy I got fitter and had fun with my friends and got to leave after.
Well, and I think, I don't know. Yeah, I agree. Like I feel fortunate that people latched onto the concept.
Sure.
When we started doing that without the class. But I think that also kind of speaks to, I mean, we are very true GPP programming. We don't shy away from any movement. You know, our warm up today had, you know, a slack block and forward rolls and rowing and balance, not slack blocking, but basically like on a piping, metal piping. You know, we are going to bring in variance. And when that's just part of your workout, that it's not like, oh, this is the back squat day, or oh, this is the, you know, whatever. People are just there to work out, and they know that the programming is working, and they can just come on the days that they can come, and they don't have to worry about it. And that's kind of been, maybe there's just enough repetition of that people kind of get it. And so that's what it looks like for like being able to offer a third class to get more people into the gym, right? To get them in for their workout. And 5:30 always ebbs and flows. Like I mean, it's just like from the beginning of Roots, it's like, you know, it gets really busy and you freak out, and then you put a bunch of classes on the schedule and it's tight for, you know, a couple months. And then all of a sudden, like people's schedules change or things happen and it dies down again. Then it'll come back again. And, you know, so
I always like to say the affiliate breathes. Like I always feel it breathing, right? Like it inhales, it exhales. And so when you're on an exhale, it's like, hey, it's just exhaling. And yeah, like we started doing like we have a 6 a.m. class, not earlier than that, but like started getting busier. And because we have a twice a week option, our Tuesdays and Thursdays are really busy because that's that like cute, like Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right. Yeah.
So I started offering in the notes from like, cause we still do CAP, and then I add in a big class logistics. And sometimes it's like teams of 3 or in stations. And my philosophy was always just like, people are going to be way more excited to do a fun, different workout than to not get into class because they didn't make it off the wait list.
100% agree. 100% agree. Right? And I think that's how you deliver it. There's so much, you know, I knew that when we offered Outlaw, there was nothing about that class that was going to ever make anybody less fit.
Sure.
And so then it's just about your delivery, right? Like, oh guys, like, okay, you're in the extra class because we didn't have space for you because like things are really busy right now. It's like, don't ever say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like saying the push jerk is really technical, so I don't think you're able to learn it because it's so.
Or my favorite is like, hey guys, everybody go get a wall ball. We don't really have a lot of 10, so just like, you know, if you don't get the weight you want, like we don't really have a lot of wall balls. It's like, no. Never say that.
Yeah.
Never say that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, is you guys, as you said, 17 years of affiliate ownership, and then yourself bouncing in and out of projects. What's kind of wrapping up, like what keeps you excited about the future and continuing on and all this stuff, whether it be as an athlete, a coach, or an affiliate owner?
I mean, definitely my team, like my coaches, like I love going to work, and I love like the moments when we're just like all messing around and I don't know, like just today, like 2 of my coaches were gymnasts, and they're doing like their gymnastics routine. And then James is there trying to do a forward roll, and you know, we're just like having a good time. And I don't know, I'm incredibly thankful for that, like that I get to go to work. And, you know, yes, we work hard, and I don't want to say that, I mean, the job isn't that hard, right? Sure. You do have to do a good job, but it's like, you know, that's just having a team that can like provide for athletes in so many different ways is really exciting to me. you know, whether you want to get a muscle up or you just got a, you know, knee replacement, or you are 70 and you just realize like, I think I could make it to the games when I'm 65, like all these different things, right? Like, I just want a team that can really provide. And so they motivate me a ton. Like doing right by them is important to me, like in a good way. Right. And then I don't know, I think what's been motivating me a lot lately is just sort of the people that come in and just want to put in the work.
Sure.
And maybe that's like always been the case, but I just think there's so much clutter and like noise everywhere, right? Of what else you could be doing or what you should be doing, or, you know, just like when you think about, like we had a couple this year, and we do this 225 challenge, and that means coming to 225 classes in a year. And they were both on the list.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they have kid and, you know, jobs and all that stuff. And I was just like the commitment to each other to like enable that for the other person. And then also like,
support it. Yeah.
Support it. I was just like, that's like a tremendous amount of hard work. That's like, doesn't even show up on the workout, right? Because it's not even like the actual class part. So I don't know. That's what motivates me. And CrossFit motivates me. Like everyone's always like, are you tired of the CrossFit thing now? And I'm like, nope. And I'm a lot fitter than you are. So
yeah. And that's, you know, we talk about like, especially like in the business side of things, like core values and like, what is your why and your mission? And I think sometimes we get like, compelled to have it be a lot more virtuous than it actually is. And like, for me,
the rhetoric, yes.
Yeah, right. Like it has to be like, I want to change lives or this or that.
Yeah, I hate
a guy named Blake Start. He's in his 70s. He's in his second year. We actually stopped doing foundations because of him, because he did his 3 sessions and then he signed up for unlimited and he showed up every day. And he showed up at 70 years old. He showed up 6 days a week for a year. And I was like, when people do that, CrossFit never not works.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that's why I've been doing this I didn't have some profound life. It was like, when you do the CrossFit program as written, it never not works.
Yep. I couldn't agree more.
Right. And maybe on that note, 3, 2, 1 time.